go? Good, okay. Good evening, everyone. Apologize for the delay. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of 5/27/25 and 5/28/25. Patty, Steve? Oh, Patty and Steve, all those in favor? Okay. Okay, Dr. Farrelly?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. A couple of quick updates. As you may have heard, last month, Governor Hochul signed a new state law that bans the unsanctioned use of smartphones and other internet-connected personal devices like tablets, smartwatches, earbuds during the entire school day in all New York public schools, right? So this bell-to-bell ban goes into effect this September of 2025 and applies during class time, during lunch, during recess, and during study halls. Devices for instructional use as determined by the school, right, are not included in this. Each school district has to develop a local policy for implementing this cell phone ban. This includes deciding where devices will be stored during the day and how families can reach students in an emergency. The law does allow for exemptions for students with medical needs and requires the schools to seek input, right, from stakeholders. Bless you. As such, prior to the end of this school year, we will be sending out a short survey to our families, so we invite you to please share your thoughts through this survey. We are at the moment waiting for additional information from the state from a regulatory perspective, right, before formalizing and establishing a policy, right, and procedures for the school year. More information on that will be sent out as soon as that's completed. I'm excited about all the end of the year festivities coming up, right? We have field days, end of the year celebrations, retirement celebrations, moving up ceremonies, award ceremonies, junior high graduations, senior high school graduations. So a lot of great stuff. So please make sure to check our district calendar to keep updated on those. And of course, obviously our building leadership teams are sending out messages with regards to all of the end of the year festivities, as well as our classroom teachers. So please, all of our students, enjoy. I know our seniors are very excited about the upcoming, the next couple of weeks as well. I'm going to take a moment to wish all of our WB dads happy Father's Day, right? Coming up this weekend. Enjoy your time with your loved ones. And last, I'm excited to introduce, I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, our Grace Goebel, our first student ex officio board member who is sitting in the audience right now. Grace, wave over. In July, Grace will be joining us up here at the dais. We are looking forward to working with you, Grace. That's all I have for this section of the agenda.
No other statements? You're up again.
I am up again. Okay, so at this point, I would like to invite Mr. O'Leary to come and introduce our senior high school superstars that are in the audience, and we'll be have a special treat, special presentation for our board and the community today.
Thank you. So good evening. Thank you for having us again so soon. So it's a pleasure to introduce to you the robotics team this evening and their advisor, Ms. Karatnitsky. But before I do, I just wanted to share a quick robotics team history. So, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Oh, perfect. So the name of the robotics team is Team Pandemonium. And I never really thought to question where that name came from until a few days ago, but with the help of Mr. DeSimone and Mr. Bauer, our veteran tech teachers and former robotics team advisors, they told me that the name originated, and I'm going to try and play it up the best way I can. The name originated on a dark, cold, and stormy night in January of 2003. The team at the time brainstormed a few ideas under the following criteria. So the team name needed to be only one word. It needed to stand the test of time. It would also need to stand out at competitions, and it needed to capture the spirit of the team and atmosphere, which at the time was aimed to create wild uproar, organized chaos, and noisy confusion. So
Wow. Okay.
So 22 years later, it definitely stood the test of time. So a lot of names were thrown around that evening, but Pandemonium stuck. So that's it. Thank you to everybody who supported the team all those years. The building.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just replacing it with one.
That one's for shorter people.
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. We'll go like this. It really stood the test of time, and again, with the help of the building, the board, 22 years later, they're still going strong. So with that said, I'd like to introduce to you the robotics team advisor, Ms.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with these students. It is my first year advising them. They are an impressive group. As you could see here, they will show you a lot of what this robot has to do. Thank you so much for having us. I want to also say thank you to Mr. Scott Bauer. He really helped me my first year. He has such a passion for these kids, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do in their future. So I am going to introduce our first speaker, which is Josiah Charles. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Josiah Charles. I am one of the drivers for Team Pandemonium, along with James Graham. Our lead engineers are Alice Casal and Matthew Lottman, and our lead programmer is Ada Marine. Up next, I will bring up Alice Casal to talk about engineering design process.
Hello, I'm Alexander Casal. I'm the lead engineer for the team, and I'm going to give a quick run-through of the engineering design process for the team. Through the season, we use the engineering process very heavily, which consists of creating designs based on the objectives that the team wants to reach, and then collaborating and brainstorming to refine those ideas. So that is done through a lot of evaluating what needs work and improvement and using problem solving to help us build a robot that's not only effective, but also helps us gain skills that we're going to use in everyday life and in our future careers in engineering. I'm going to introduce now our lead driver, James Graham.
Where's it go? Space. Okay. For the game overview, Into the Deep was this year's game for the First Robotics Tech Challenge. Each match is 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. The first 30 seconds is the autonomous period, where it is fully programmed, no human input, and it is to... Sorry. The instructions are already programmed inside the robot. After the first 30 seconds, there is a 10-second down period to switch and able to grab our controllers and switch the driver hub to our teleop stage, where we are able to manually control the robot and make more precise, accurate movements, and that lasts for 2 minutes. The last 30 seconds of those 2 minutes, we are in a phase called Endgame. That is kind of to wrap up the end of the match, where we make our final moves and we suspend our robot on the submersible, which is that middle section on that slide. And I would like to bring it to Xander again.
So now we're just going to give a quick overview of the systems on the robot that we designed this year and what they do for us. So first we have the lifting mechanism. That is the bar that goes up and down there. That allows our robot to reach the various objects around the field that we need to get and place them. Next we have the brain, which basically just consists of the computers and wires, which help the robot control itself both during the human-controlled periods as well as the autonomous periods where it controls itself. Next, we have the end effector. That is the claw at the top of the arm, and that allows us to grab and hold specimens, which are blocks. That is how we score our points and how we progress through the match. And next, we have the chassis. That is the base frame of the robot. And the motors and wheels attached to it. That's just what allows us to mobilize around the field and what everything else is built on top of. And then we have the suspension mechanism. That is what allows us to suspend the robot at the end of the match, where the robot will lift itself up. And it allows the robot to lift itself up on a truss, and we have it tilt itself forward to reach the truss. and that just allows us to better reach it. And then the previously mentioned autonomous, I will now show. I just want to give a warning. There's a little bit of volume at the start, so be aware of that. And we are the robot in the bottom left of this video. And throughout the video, this is all done with code on the robot. There's no human input at any point. So the robot will pick up a block and place it on a bar and then park itself afterwards.
Have you gone to one of these? Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, as you can see in that video, that was our hanging mechanism at work, where the robot will suspend itself off of the ground on a truss. And so that occurs at the end of the game, and I will now pass it on to Josiah.
Robotics gives students real hands-on experience and lets them explore the STEM field early on. It connects in-school learning to real-world applications that we will use every day and gives them a real long-term interest in technology. I will bring up our lead programmer, Aiden, up next to talk about alumni.
We have had many alumni come back this year to help us build and program our robot. They have also have pursued many educations in STEM programs. Now introducing Sarah, who will talk about the success of the club.
Over the past 4 years, sorry, I'm a little short, but the success of the club is not.
Ah, love that.
Over the past 4 years, the club has the team has received awards for the Innovative and Think Awards. It has maintained a win record of 72%, and this year went to the championships 2 times in a row. 2 years in a row, not 2 times. And was the winning alliance within the Long Island region. Next up, I'd like to introduce Josiah, talking about the Impacta Club.
The Robotics Club has had a strong impact on all of our graduating members who are pursuing STEM majors in-state, with myself pursuing civil engineering, Ada Marine pursuing computer science, and Paul Abramchuk pursuing electrical engineering. Up next, I'll bring up Paul to talk about the majors of our alumni.
Some of our alumni have a variety of majors that they've been going through. Some of them have gone through electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, manufacturing, computer science, and computer science. With each of them aiming for different degrees and having different success and sometimes encountering fails, hoping that they'll succeed in the future. I'll be bringing James.
So for our closing statements, I would like to highlight that our club does a lot more than just building robots. It also helps us build our futures. We come out of the robotics club as engineers, programmers, and also leaders. It teaches us teamwork and creativity, as well as perseverance. And we are proud to represent the school and excited for what's ahead for the team. And we are thankful for all of your support through doing this. So, thank you.
I have to say, it's definitely exciting. I think it was it last year that I went, Mr. Bauer? And nail biter, right? Like watching all of that was my first time that I'd gone last year. You guys do a phenomenal job year after year, right? And it just continues, right? The underclassmen, right, taking the lead of the upperclassmen, keeping us going, and definitely Pandemonium continues to be and will always be on the map, absolutely. So if I could invite our superstars to come up here to be acknowledged as a thank you to presenting to our board and our community for all of your wonderful work, and a huge round of applause. Any questions from our trustees?
Yeah, is it the same robot every year?
No, we change the robot based off of what the challenge requires.
Okay. Neat.
Very cool. Very cool. What do you use to program it? What software?
We use Java to program the robot.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is it a Raspberry Pi on there or?
No.
Very cool. I like it. It's awesome. Good job, guys.
All right, Josiah, come on up, please. Stand here for a picture. Okay. James? You guys can come up here. We're gonna take a nice group picture. Aiden? Paul? Sarah? Okay, Alexander. All right, I'm going to join you for a picture. Mr. Payne, come on. Oh, the robot. Let's hit them. Definitely.
What do the numbers mean on the back of the shirt?
The numbers?
That's your team number.
Oh, okay.
Wait, hold on, Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Bauer, come on up. Except I can't stand next to
years, but 2012 is when I started. As the left. Keep going.
So who gets to like stay with the robot over summer, right? Now it's like a stay in the lab and we're gonna revamp it for next year. Got it, okay. Mr. Leary's office, you'll be,
Yes.
robot sitting.
Yes.
Robot sitting.
I will be robot sitting, yes.
Okay, and then our second presentation, equally as exciting, right, Mr. Payne?
It's hard to follow a robot.
I mean, it is. It is. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Avola.
Mr. Payne is going to present, right? I mean, we have, well, he'll provide an overview of the process, right, in terms of our annual code of conduct review. We have a committee, and then every recommendation, right, that comes from every parent, right, any committee member is included here for the board to then review, and the board can either accept or decline, right, any
Right.
of the recommendations made throughout the process.
And I do believe we're going to, this is a policy, but it's not going on for this meeting. It'll go on for
Yes,
next meeting. Okay.
correct,
So
yes.
these are just the suggested changes. The policy
And then
will go
we'll-
on, so there will be time for revisions or feedback regarding this.
Correct.
So obviously, the code of conduct has to be revised each year, as Dr. Farley had mentioned, and there's a process for that. Right. There's committee meetings, there's public feedback, and of course, this is another public presentation with the Board of Education, and this is directly to the board, like Dr. Farley had mentioned, to give you all the feedback that was given by the committee and by the public. So the public was encouraged to participate in live forums. We did 2 of them, and then to give feedback either at that live forum via email, this is the information they were given, or later on when they watched it on the website, with the recordings on the website, and then to give feedback later on. And all of us know this, but I just want to review very quickly. This is an active policy. It's found on board docs. It's policy 5300, the Code of Conduct, Character and Support. That's what it's called right now. It's about 40 some odd pages with 22 sections. The sections are important because as I go through these changes, you're going to see the Roman numeral section on the top where the changes are, so that you can get some idea of where these changes are coming from. Obviously, we didn't print out the whole Code of Conduct, but everyone has access to it via the board docs and online. These are the sections I was just talking about, Roman numeral up to 22. And the revisions were conducted, as we had mentioned, through this committee of teachers, central and building administrators, maybe a student or 2. I'm not going to point them out, but one is here. And any minor grammatical or even punctuation changes were left out from the board's review from this presentation if they didn't change the context of the Code of Conduct. So every now and then we do pick up like a comma's missing or a word might be misspelled. Those changes are made. The board doesn't have to review that. But obviously anything that could contextually change the Code of Conduct or anything that is substantial, we bring to you and of course present to the public and to the committee. So here's the first change, which I just got done telling you about Roman numerals, but this one is not a Roman numeral because it doesn't even start yet. We're gonna get some public feedback in here along with the committee feedback. Some of the recommendations from the public was to simplify parts of the Code of Conduct and to make it more succinct. In this particular case, the recommendation is to just keep it as policy 5300 Code of Conduct and to remove character and support. Section 1, so now we're into the Roman numerals, similar piece, exactly the same terminology you just saw. The strike through there implies getting rid of, and it's highlighted. To just call it Code of Conduct, serves as a guide to good citizenship, provides the tools. Still in Section 1, this was a committee change. Really, this was almost one where I wouldn't have brought it to the board, but it's enough where we kind of did. Just change the word "are" to "comprise." Doesn't really change contextually too much there, but just so the board knows it was enough that we brought it to you. So this is a big one. You have a handout in front of you, and the public has access to it as well. In Section 1, to remove paragraphs 7 through 12 to make the Code of Conduct more succinct. So the handout you have, rather than type it up here and it be the size of maybe font 1 or 2, to give it to you on a piece of paper would be to remove those paragraphs 7 through 12, which you have a copy of.
Does everyone have the sheet and see it? Okay.
And we'll come back to all this. I'm just going to run through everything, and I'll certainly address questions or bring things up. This is a committee change under Section 2, which is all definitions. It's almost like a glossary. It just gives definitions in there. Just that additional, instead of changing talking back, changing it to responding disrespectfully. Not a huge change here, just some words and some pieces related to it. This is public feedback under definitions to get rid of restorative interventions, meaning restorative circles for teaching, conflict resolutions, including conferences that bring those impacted by conflict together to address wrongdoing. These are just under definitions. This doesn't change the code of conduct at all. This would be just removing it from the definitions section on Roman numeral 2. Similar piece, public feedback, section 2, restorative practices would be a definition. To remove that, restorative practices means actions that promote inclusiveness, relationship building, and problem-solving solutions through restorative methods. An alternative to consequences, restorative practices encourage students to reflect on and take responsibility for their actions and develop plans to repair harm. Again, under section 2, definitions, change liquid nicotine to any nicotine product. And I should have said this is the first time we're seeing the second time we're seeing the blue. The red strike through was in policy where you'd see it removed. Obviously, the blue highlight are things that are added. Section 3, into students' rights and responsibilities. So we're in another section of the Code of Conduct here to change mechanisms to strategies. Not a huge change, just a word change. And section 3, student rights, change discipline to disciplinary actions. Section 3, change actions to words, actions, and reactions. So the addition of words and reactions there. Public feedback, section 3, students' rights and responsibilities. This would be one of the bulleted items in response to section B of student responsibilities. Be open to active participation in resolving conflicts through a restorative process. Section 4, essential partners. These next sections you're going to see involve different stakeholders and community members. Changing the wording here for parents, this is one of the things that we would ask our parents to do. Insist that their children be clean, well-kempt, and dressed in accordance with the student dress code. Little change there. Similar spot, Roman numeral 4, instead of saying help, parents help children, this is parents reinforce that children understand that in a democratic society, appropriate rules are required to maintain a safe, orderly environment. And again, same piece, parents know and reinforce school rules as opposed to just know, just adding and reinforce there. This is one you're going to see come up a couple times. And we used the word, this was the committee, electronic devices, adding the word application, or what I guess a lot of us would refer to as apps on a phone, just to distinguish the difference between a website and particular things. You'll see this come up a few times as an addition. So this is actually, should be red highlight there instead of blue, but it's a removal under the teachers, section 4, essential partners, D, teachers, just removing that, and awareness of varied learning styles. The committee spent some time talking about this. Student achievement, we felt, should include that regardless. It shouldn't be mentioned specifically. Guidance counselors as an essential partner in section 4, provide information to assist. The committee just felt assist students in general with career planning with targeted support to 11th and 12th graders. And essential partner section 4, superintendents, assistant superintendents, administration, kind of a change in wording there, develop instructional programs that address mixed instructional techniques and meet student needs. Dress code, this is always an interesting part. Each year I do the committee. We go through this. It's not a long part, but it does come up with usually some significant changes. This is an addition under dress code, one of the bulleted. Ensure that jewelry and or accessories do not pose a danger to themselves or others or cause a disruption to the educational program. And this, the committee felt, encompasses a large amount of anything that might disrupt a classroom, something that disrupts the school in general in the hallway, just kind of a broad category. This dealt with hats, this section of the dress code, so it was added or is approved by the building's principal in accordance with the New York State Crown Act. So the New York State Crown Act involves the ability of students to wear particular items of clothing that may be culturally significant to them. So the principal should have the prerogative, and this is the committee decided, to make sure that anything that might fit in accordance with that the school can follow, as opposed to just potentially there being a conflict between the New York State Crown Act and what's in the dress code. This is going to be added a few times as well, but just this general piece of adding the word electronically to any broad kind of threats or anything that could be spoken about against someone else. So the addition of the word electronically in Section 6, prohibited student contact. Here it is again, adding the word electronically and adding the word electronically. Section 6, prohibited student contact, lying, and this was kind of like almost like we used to call it lying by omission, right? Or withholding potential information, or withholding information to school personnel. Section 6, you'll see the word application added here again, similar to what I had talked to you before about, just kind of covering that piece of anything that might be an app or something they might find on a phone or electronic device. Section 6, engaging in conduct and endangers the safe physical and emotional well-being of others, and just adding that word distributing. This was just really just to fit in the context of how the bullet was written. So examples of such conduct include but are not limited to, and then going right to the verb selling as opposed to students are prohibited from. This isn't a major change. This was a good one. We still don't know why balloons are on there, but we feel like they probably shouldn't be. But the committee did decide to remove keychains because it was felt that in this day and age, there are going to be a lot of kids that do have keychains probably attached to their backpack. I'm assuming years ago, and I'm trying to even think back from my time here in West Babylon, maybe it was put on there because it scratched the seats or something like that, but I haven't heard of a problem with keychains, so I think we're good with this one. This is a new one, and the committee kept this purposely broad, but we do know that this is going to have to be revised year to year. This concept only as it relates to prohibited student conduct as academic misconduct. This is not any broad encompassing statement for AI in general, but as it relates to academic misconduct, which we tend to think right away of plagiarism or reporting work that's not your own, inappropriate use of artificial intelligence. Here you're going to see the word electronic added to just messages, similar to what I had talked about before. And Section 8, in addition to in public feedback, this was public feedback. And I'm not sure, I think we may have had this years ago, I'm not sure if it came out at one point, but as a general rule, discipline will be progressive, meaning a student's first violation may merit a lighter penalty than subsequent violations. This really isn't a new concept to the Code of Conduct. I don't know if I thought we used to have it in there, or a different wording of it. It might have gotten taken out over the years. But this is basically the idea that students exhibiting the same behavior against the Code of Conduct could be met with maybe more severe sanctions later on. Public feedback, Section 8, in relation to removing, in addition to the consequences below, the building principal as designee may implement restorative practices on a case-by-case basis to mediate a conflict. The superintendent of schools or his or her designee will implement procedures outlining the restorative practice that may be made available to students on a case-by-case basis. So the removal of that. So this one was put in by the committee. This is, we jumped ahead here to Section 14, public conduct on school property. I'm going to give you the specific instance just to talk about. No person alone or with others. The committee wanted to add without permission and not limited to. There's a whole list of things here. There's a few on there, and I'm going to give you the example we gave. It's going to seem oddly specific, but drone flying. We use that as a conversation because there may be times where the school wants someone to fly a drone and take pictures. So we talked about the idea that if you have permission, you might be able to fly a drone, or that was one of the many other things that could happen. This one comes right from Section 11, so this is one that we kind of have to add, and it's directly from the literature with Suffolk County. Any athlete that engages in a fight and or leaves the bench area during an on-field altercation will be required to sit out of the 2 scheduled contests. As with our current policy, should the suspension overlap with the end of the season, it will carry over to the postseason and or the next season the athlete participates in. Should the situation repeat itself in the same season, the athlete will be eligible for the remainder of that specific sport, regular and postseason. And then the asterisk at the bottom. Additionally, the player or coaches who have been suspended from the next contest may not be present at the site of the contest. So this is some previous pieces from Section 11 and an addition. Done. I will go back to any part of that. I realize that was a quick overview, so hit me up.
I'll just go back to that Section 16 there.
Yep.
I did this grammatical error here.
Yep.
The next 2 scheduled contests.
Okay. Ms. Medina, I'll go through Mr. Panarella. He added this, so I'll make sure he grammatically corrects it. Good catch. Thank you. Maybe Section 11 has it wrong. We might correct them. That'll be even better.
Is there anything about parents with Section 11 with sports and contact with parents in the stands?
So there's a bunch in the code of conduct, but there were no recommended changes by the committee nor the public.
So it's still in the regular text.
So just the regular text is, so there's plenty in the code of conduct that, and the committee went over each part, we went over the pieces, the public, I'm assuming, went over parts. This is just the recommended changes to the code of conduct of that 40-some-odd pages. Thanks.
So if,
You want the robot back?
there were some of the public feedback was in terms of sent in, right? Like the removal of the restorative practices definition, and then there was like the removal of the resolving conflicts through a restoration process. If we want to, in terms of ultimately remove the language from there, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it is clear, though, right, that those are practices that we do, right? Like, we do want to try to resolve conflicts, right, through a restorative building process, right? So it's fine in terms of if, as a group, we want to remove it from the code of conduct, per se, in terms of language. I just do want to make it clear that that is part of what we do, right, in all school buildings, right, where we want to and we will be, right, utilizing restorative practices with students, right, circles with students. We do want to engage students in that practice of, having conversations with counselors, having conversations with, maybe within groups, right, where there were some issues. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that would still be part of and ingrained in what we do, right, just not part of in terms of the code of conduct per se language.
Right, and kind of leaning back on that with the public feedback that's been stricken, are there other areas in the code of conduct that identifies what's been stricken? Is this
Right.
basically repetitive text in the code of conduct, which is the reason why the public feedback is saying strike it?
So
No.
insofar as, right, yeah, it's not, so is it referred to in other ways of the code of conduct? I don't think it is. I went over the code of conduct. I could have missed one or two, but I really don't think it is. And each one of these, believe it or not, is very specific to the particular Roman numeral, so it probably wouldn't repeat anyway, but yeah, I think these are all the same in the reference to it.
And the same thing in terms of in the beginning section, it speaks to in terms of like the striking out of social emotional learning pieces, right? And again, that is in terms of as a district, right, we do aim to have a collaborative school environment where students feel a sense of belonging, right? So that is still what we do. So I just want to make it clear, right, that even if that is stricken out of the code of conduct per se, right, that that
Something
is
that we still abide by
right,
and
exactly,
achieve.
of course,
Well,
right.
policy
in
and
terms-
ideology are two different things.
Correct,
And I think
yeah.
the problem we had was the code of conduct became so wordy.
Yeah.
It became more of a mission statement. Yeah.
No, I definitely understand in terms of, bringing the amount of pages and, kind of information there. I just want to make it, clear, right, that in terms of we want to resolve conflicts is, right, like, in terms of what students do restorative practices.
I think that language that was in there offers too much flexibility to some of the administrators, and it doesn't support the teachers that we support of a more stringent disciplinary process. I think there just leaves a lot to interpretation, and it doesn't show some of the staff the support that they need.
Okay. I respect your opinion. I think,
I've seen it.
okay. I disagree, but, yes. So the actual context of the actual code of conduct pieces in terms of discipline, still changing the language, and I just want to make sure, again, being, very transparent and candid, that process still remains the same.
And this is only like 30 slides of a 43-page
Yes, a large-
document,
yeah.
so the majority of
And
the
when you see
document
one of these
still
slides,
remains
literally,
intact.
some of them are just one bullet on
Yep.
the
Yeah,
probably 50,
exactly.
40 or
So-
50 bullets
And
on
I
a
definitely
page.
agree. I mean, consolidating it is definitely right. It's more concise. It makes it more concise. I just, wanted to just highlight that, right? So that, we have a good understanding of that.
Yep, I just think, I think it was too ideological.
Too much,
To be,
yeah,
to
too much
reference what's
in
a
the code of
violation. Yeah,
conduct,
you want,
yes.
what's a violation? I want to go see it. I don't want to read.
Right, 3
you know,
pages
so-
to get to that.
Yeah, so
understood.
that, so
Yeah.
I think by removing that, it doesn't become,
Right.
well, no, this word means this. It takes what you're referring to out of the equation of, did you violate the school policy?
Understood.
I think
Most
that's the
schools'
biggest-
code
Yeah,
of conducts
definitely.
they're almost basically verbatim, a lot of them. We had that extra page of language in there
Yeah.
where a lot of confusion and a sense of, it's very subjective, yeah, to interpretation.
Understood, and we, we saw those, right, the definition of, right, and then here, the several paragraphs on SEL, it doesn't need to be as part of the code of conduct, understood.
Mr. Payne, would you mind reading the whole policy for us?
Yeah, yeah.
I could do it backwards.
Backwards?
Yes.
All good?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Good, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want me to put anything else up, or?
Where am I at? Yeah, okay. Good. All right. Take a breath for this next part. Okay, statement of residence on agenda items only. Residents wishing to share a statement should state their name, their address, and any organization they may be representing. Residents will also write their name and address on the index card provided and present it to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. I'm off the cuff here. Matters relating to individual students or employees cannot be discussed at a public board meeting. Residents will be given up to 3 minutes to share their statement. A statement of residence is scheduled for 15 minutes. Any statements?
Okay.
Please come. How are you? Right here, yeah. The microphone's on there, yeah.
I filled out my name on the, yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Valentino, and I'm actually an alumni of West Babylon. I graduated in '95, so it's nice to be back in here. I'm here today because I need to speak about the activities that go on at the junior high school that are not school events. And it's getting out of control. It's at least every day now. There's the music. I can't even concentrate, relax in my own home, garden in my yard. Sundays, it's all day long. And I'm here asking and pretty much begging, the music has to stop with all these unsupervised events that go on all the time. And it's a problem. I can't even work from home. It's a real problem. And, there's things that I notice that are in the field, such as the benches. There you have like 3 benches, I guess, where the football players would sit during a game. They're all on the side of where the homes are. And there's also a set of bleachers on the side where the homes are, which doesn't make sense to me when they all should be on the other side. And it seems to me that, especially on the Sunday soccer day, that everybody gravitates to the building where they also urinate behind, that I have to watch pretty much when I look out my window. It's a nuisance. It's too much at this point, and I leave my house on Sundays now because I can't even be home. I have some pictures that I would like to show, just give you. I don't know if
You could leave them, you can leave them, yeah.
There's some that I'd like to point out, which I have pictures of the benches, but just the condition itself of the whole yard, the whole schoolyard. I mean, you have rakes laying in the middle of the field, metal rakes, and it's just horrible. It's not taken care of, and it's attracting the people that hang out at the field.
Okay.
And I'm asking also if this gate that is by the building, the white building with the eagle on it, if that could be locked. Because, there's a lock on the garbage pail, but that could be locked as well.
Okay.
To deter people from.
You don't have to wait for a meeting to bring this to our attention, because we could address it sooner, yeah.
My point was last night.
Yeah, okay,
And
Yeah.
I called the police twice,
okay,
and it wasn't even 8 o'clock, and I
Right.
didn't care,
okay,
and I just had enough.
okay.
We need to.
It'll be looked into. Thank you. No problem, no problem. Yeah, the next time, don't wait so long to, if it's been going on.
It's been tough. It's at least every day, every other day.
Okay.
And I really appreciate it because you don't want to hear it when you're eating dinner. You know what I mean? Or you're
Understood.
trying to relax and watch a movie. But
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. No other statements? Okay. Okay, need a motion to approve the consent agenda? Anthony, John, all those in favor? That's everyone. Okay, no policy review today, well, except what we discussed. Any old business? I did have something for old business. I think it's, how do I decipher if it's old business or new business? If it's been discussed previously, it's old business, right? Is that pretty much, okay. I know we keep the idea of the concession stand keeps coming up. What are we doing with the old one? What about a new one? So I have the estimate. Last time we spoke about rehabbing the current one, it was $700,000. I don't think that's anything we're going to be raising our hand for at this time. And we know the cost of a new one is just not in the budget at this time either. I was just thinking, is there maybe an opportunity as we go through the architects looking at the back of the junior high school building, if a section of window in the cafeteria was modified to kind of be an ad hoc concession stand with counter, maybe bypass windows, or since the kitchen is on the back of that building, could something be done with a window there? Obviously, a little bit of a different, or maybe a temporary fix, but it maybe gives us some opportunity, especially if we're going to redo that area and the kids are going to be out there. Maybe that allows for something to be purchased for the kids out there, because we're not going to be putting in a new building, and we're not spending $700,000 for the old one.
Are you talking about football games or?
I'm just trying to think of another option.
They bring in food trucks.
Yeah, but I know that people keep asking. It's come up several times about what's happening with concessions. So I was just thinking, even in terms of when the kids are out there for lunch, that might be an opportunity to be useful if a section of window was modified.
How do you operate that window? Where do you get food from?
However it would be, but if a group wants to use a concession, then they want to use an area, they would then be using the cafeteria to be selling whatever they're selling at,
So then,
I know I
whatever.
inquired about having that concession stand removed,
Yeah,
if we can't use it, it's
No,
condemned.
it's whatever happens to it's going to happen to it. It's not going to be $700,000
Right, cool, right.
and ripping up plumbing to go all the way across the entire back
Right,
field.
right.
But I know it's come
We
up.
can't even
So.
store things in it.
I was just trying to think of an idea, even if it was something related to the kitchen, that would also be used during lunchtime in school, or when we had school events, if it could still be used.
But then we'd have to.
I'm not sure if I get the answer. One time I had mentioned, can we use that building just to put vending machines
No.
in?
We can't.
You can't,
No.
not
Yeah.
for vending machines,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to what I brought up. So,
Well, it's the same
I don't
thing.
want to go back. I don't want to go back to these same questions.
Right.
But then
I don't know if that's something the group would want to.
Would then,
sorry.
that would mean personnel, like additional personnel running the kitchen?
No,
Right.
what I'm saying is, so if there is a window there with an opportunity for during the school day to use that, because we're redoing this entire area.
Right?
So I'm thinking it's going to be used a lot differently, at least I hope it's going to be used a lot differently than it is now. Would there be an opportunity for something to be, a treat to be given to the kids through the window where they can come up halfway through break time to get a drink or something? But let's take it to, events at the school.
That's what I'm talking about.
Events at the school, we would just have that window open, and whoever is the group that is selling whatever can do it from inside the cafeteria.
Kind of like a volunteer kind of.
Yeah, it's just the windows and a counter, and if they're selling pretzels or there's a pretzel machine spinning that's plugged in, I would assume everything's up to code.
I thought there was that idea of a food truck.
Yeah, last month
Another
that was brought up.
district, right?
Kirsten brought it up.
Well, we've done
Right.
that. We've done that. But the issue of the concession stand, how are we going to sell concessions?
Right.
Continually comes up. And when you say food truck, well, what about that? It continually goes back to a concession stand. So in lieu of the $700,000 to rehab a building which you don't even know how it got there, or the $1.6 million for a new one, I was just trying to see if there would be an estimate from the architect to do something different, which would also be used during the school day, if it wanted to.
And Chris, I probably started this 4 years ago when I was running the football booster club, and I would love to see something be done back there. I'm just not visualizing what you're trying to say and do if it's practical in that spot.
Well, what are they selling out of the concession stand, the old
Nothing.
concession stand? What did they used to sell?
Hot dogs, burgers,
Chips,
pretzels,
whatever.
chips, drinks, right?
But
Yeah.
we're talking about just the 4 football games that we hosted every
Right.
year. Other than
Correct.
that concession stand wasn't used.
It wasn't allowed
Well,
to be
it
used.
wasn't allowed to be
Exactly,
used.
it wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to be used.
The whole other story. But,
Right.
Right, so we're
I'm
talking
just-
about 4 days.
I was just trying to visualize something where something could still be used, if it's a PTA wants to use it.
Correct.
Through the cafeteria to sell chips, drinks, through the cafeteria, through the window and the counter. Because then other than that, I don't know why we're gonna continually entertain a concession stand. It comes up constantly,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
So, we think we all agreed that anything we put together would be used by any group. It wouldn't be restricted to one group anymore. I think
Yeah.
that's the right way to go about that. But we don't have anything in place, and it's definitely not in the budget for redoing that whole back area.
So whoever uses that window would need access to that kitchen?
To the cafeteria. Or
Cafeteria.
either or, I don't know. I have a feeling a window modification is gonna be much easier than
Right.
cutting a hole through a
Entire
brick
building.
wall, let alone moving whatever's on that wall.
Right, right.
But if the concession stand or the ability of a concession stand is a top priority, and the other two things aren't gonna work for us at this point, I didn't know if that would be a temporary fix, or maybe even useful during the school day for the kids that are outside
Yeah.
doing stuff. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, you can sell them pretzels, chips, waters, Gatorades, whatever.
But that would be open to like the booster clubs, like, to.
Anybody, right? You said anybody.
Yeah,
Any
but
group.
the same
So
as the
the soccer-
concession stand would be.
Right, so the soccer hosts, 6 home games a year. The booster club can sell their own chips or whatever.
It would
after-
have to be, yeah.
So, I don't, we would,
Concerns, questions. yeah.
I would say, we can look in, if the board consensus is for us to look into it, we definitely can look into that. Just in some immediate thoughts, I think there would be probably some, roadblocks to,
Board of Health.
in terms of, during the day, in terms of the student, aspect of that. We can definitely look into in terms of the process of it. It's not gonna be a simple, all of it obviously would have to be approved by state ed, right? In terms of the opening and the process and the way that that's, set up. So there's that, right? And then we would need to, in terms of any of the groups, we would establish a process. We would need to establish a process where it's, our cooks, right? In terms of doing the, like, similar to how it was beforehand, right? And the prior group that was there, right, they would hire our own people, right? When, in terms of working out of our kitchen. So, that aspect would come into play. But again, we can definitely look into it, right? If that could, something like that could be set up and what the cost of that would be. And would that, what it would cost, right? I don't believe we would be able to put it under the umbrella of the project, so that would definitely be an ed
Okay.
district cost,
Okay,
right?
okay.
But we would, we could definitely look into all of that.
Just an estimate then. at this
Yeah,
point.
in
Okay.
terms of an estimate, right?
Right.
If we can definitely ask for, like, an estimate of that concept, right? Like opening up a window, right, off of, kind of, our current kind of kitchen, I mean, where it's at. But, yeah, we can definitely ask for an estimate,
That was just an idea, so it's
yeah.
Yeah, great idea.
just to get an
Hope-
estimate.
Yeah.
All right, we'll ask the architect to take a look at it and
Good.
see what,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Got it.
Any new business?
Can we see those pictures or no?
Yeah.
Yes. It's after the meeting.
No new business? Good?
Nope.
These pictures, they're not in regards to any sanctioned, permitted.
I don't know, I'd have to like,
Right.
look at them and I'd have to meet with facilities, so I wouldn't be able to address it now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
meet with
take a look
facilities
at
and then
everything
we'll take a
afterwards.
look at,
Yeah.
But do we still have like the football games that we, they used to, use field
So
under
the
permit?
fields are definitely rented out by outside organizations. That is, in accordance with the facilities
Yeah, we might have,
policy,
we might
right?
have to review policy of using the fields, and if there's things we have to address, that's
Or
what
these
we'll have to.
just kids coming to hang out at night
Right.
Yeah.
after school?
Okay, statement of residents. Residents wishing to share a statement on any item, state their name, their address, and any organization that they may be representing. Residents will also write their name and address on the index card provided and presented to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources prior to giving their statement. Matters relating to individuals, students, or employees cannot be discussed at a public board meeting. Residents will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Statement of residents is scheduled for 15 minutes. No one? Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, need a motion to adjourn? No? John? Frank? All those in favor? Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.